Ah, yes, the utter chaos of creation. Got into some projects with my children last night, and this is my son's old toy New Bright RC, and we decided to take it apart and see if this shell, which is kind of fun to look at, right? It's got a certain amount of realism to it, and he can put some little riders in there or whatnot. See if we can graft it to this wonderful thing, which I've cobbled together from everything that's been given to me by my buddy Spitz. He just keeps upgrading and upgrading, and then I end up with these wonderful things. So here we got a Vanquish AX10 comp crawler chassis. This is a really lightweight shell. It's actually very light. I like it. I'm trying to figure out the best way to graft this thing on there to get the wheelbase. So first I have to kind of figure my wheelbase. Got an output shaft here. Got an output shaft there. That's pretty much in the center of the vehicle. I've got these wonderful little MIPS. This is the first time I've ever owned brand new MIPS that I bought myself. It's so very nice. These things are so sexy. So just to get an idea, that would be probably a pretty decent like front wheelbase. The wheels would be about right in here, and that would be a pretty decent rear wheelbase. The wheels would be right about in there. If I spin it around the other way, where the spur gear is facing the other direction, because you know it's a brushed motor and it doesn't have any specific timing that I'm aware of, so it could run in either direction, so I'm not too worried about transmission direction or orientation. I'm kind of just looking at, you know, for instance, if I have the output shaft here, you can see the rear axle is going to be hanging way out the back. Now I was thinking, how could I possibly just take this thing apart and somehow fit the transmission and motor where the motor of the vehicle normally would be, but then you're going to need a transfer box and a rail frame and all these things that I don't have. So I decided, how about if I just try and figure out how to conglom the two of these. Do some glomming. That's what this is all about, agglomerating. Jam that thing in there somewhere. Don't want to make it sit up real high like that. That's a no good. You can see where the shock orientation is. It's all wrong. Figure it out. Well, I got kind of a plan. Got a semi-plan. I'm going to start off by using my fine multi-master here, and I'm going to nip off these posts that I do not need. This is a really neat tool because you can slide it against the flat surface and just go right into what you want to knob off. Now I can get more of an idea of my straightish line. You can see my tape is not very straight. I can make my tape straighter now. Get another good eyeball on it. There's my guide for my upcoming slot. I'm going to slot this thing. That's what I'm going to do. See what that does for me. Because I looked at it, and I can only knob off about this much. If I were just to cut this, which is no big deal, I could cut it off, but then I lose all my cross bracing, all my strength. And I only gain like ½ inch or so. So I was thinking about just dropping it right on there. Make sure I'm still slotting nicely. Yeah. Nice. Yep, I'm going to just make 2 little channels in there. Should be no big deal. It's plastic. little seat sections that just need to get destroyed out of the way there. Alright. That wasn't too painful. Didn't take too long. Let's see what happens here. Shove that thing right in there. See how far it'll go. Okay, pretty much right up to the point where I thought it would. Looks like I could maybe make it go another 1/4 of an inch, but as you can see, I've now got it in there at least. It's still jacked up way too high. There we go. Get it to register in there a little more. Maybe I can get it a little bit deeper. Looks like it, perhaps. Yeah, I pushed it in there a little deeper. Now the spur is maybe 3/16 away from hitting something. Okay, so that's in there. What do the seats look like? Everything still looks pretty normal on the inside. There's a few little slits, some metal coming through the floorboards. Yeah, the seats are still there pretty much. Doesn't look too terrible for all the different things I could have come up with, and the least destructive, because that way if I don't like this idea and it doesn't work out good, then I have not destroyed a perfectly good crawling chassis. Yeah, I think I just need to relieve the seats a little more to get that to go in a little deeper till the spur just about touches. I think that's as close as I'm going to get. What I'm seeing is that if I slide this forward, I can go much deeper because I can drop it right to the transmission and the spur can go up in here. But then what I'm going to end up with, I think, is an axle that might be really far forward. Yeah, the axle would be, for that to work out, the axle is going to end up way out in the front like this, like, kind of almost like a rock bouncer. I don't know about that. So here's your axle way out here. It's definitely going to be axle and front wheels looking thing if you do it that way. Then from the back, the output shaft is back in there. Stretch it out a little bit. And that puts the rear axle about where I wanted it, which is right at the end of the vehicle. That might be the solution. So I just need to drop it in even further. I could go almost a whole full another inch. Well, I'm going to save you the gnawing and the type noises for a little while, and I will see how much I can salvage out of this thing without making it look too crazy. Alright, some gnawing away later. My trusty fine Multimaster. And I have grafted this right onto there with minimal destruction, I feel. I'm going to have to come back to the seats because what I ended up doing was trapping the AX10 chassis, the Vanquish AX10 chassis is trapped onto the new Bright Body with these cross braces that go across the tunnel and the slot and all, and it's right on there. So that's pretty cool. Managed to get the plane of the skid close, but not exactly as slanted as the body. So it does have a slight upward thing going on. Where is this gonna put my axles? Gotta see, man. So if I were to go as short as possible in the front, try and be semi-reasonable with how this thing looks, my front axle looks like it's going to be right on top of the end of the chassis. So even with the MIP as short as possible, I guess I could have gotten the other MIP set, the MIP set, that is for the dig. That has one short one and one long one, and then I could put it back here because I would have a shorter one. But I didn't know what I was doing, man, because I'm a noob. But I guess I could have had a really short front axle with a lot of forward weight bias. That would be pretty cool. It's theoretically possible to get the axle in the wheel notch, but as this one is, it's going to be out here. The back, I'm going to have to stretch them out a little bit. Back, I've not looked at this yet, so we're all doing this together. Raw. Yeah, man. Again, going to be right at the very end of the vehicle. So my rear axle would be back here. Front axle part would be up here. It's going to look like this. Kind of stretched out. The size wheels I was thinking about using, this is kind of crazy. But look at these big old hoopties on this thing. And I'm not really sure about axle width and everything because I've never built anything with these little stubby SCX10s, but I'm hoping for something like that on the back. Now on the front, it's going to be something like that. Should be pretty badass. And there may be a way to incorporate the new bright roll bar with some real LEDs in front of this whole thing. I'm not really seeing how that's gonna, how that would work. It's a pretty big stretch there to figure something out. Otherwise, this is basically going to look like this with the front wheels way in front of it. Like kind of a crawler rock bouncer look to it. I'll have to figure out the seating for this later. Okay, after a little more fiddling around, I got the seats in, not entirely perfect. You know, you got their rippages and whatnot, and they're all beat around. But you know what? I don't know if that's going to matter once we start getting into our crawling events. I think it'll just be fun to look at. Put a little guy in there. I'm going roding. Hope I don't flip over. Actually, this thing kind of flip itself back over. That's pretty cool with the nice heavy motor and the kind of turtley shape of it all. Nice.